Terry Sutherland is a seasoned C-suite executive specializing in engineering, product development, sales, marketing, and operations. With experience from vice president to CEO, he now focuses on C-suite consultancy, driving significant business growth and organizational improvements. He has worked with companies of all sizes, solving problems creatively and focusing on results. He is called a business transformer, helping companies thrive in today's competitive market by improving revenue, profit, and market share. Let's see what makes Terry so buzzworthy. Terry, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. And where are you calling in from today?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee. I love Nashville. My wife and I drove through there on our way to Dauphin Island in Alabama. I don't know if you're familiar with that space.
I'm familiar with Dauphin Island, no.
But we loved the Country Music Hall of Fame. I think it was our favorite. But don't think a lot of people know that there is an African American Music Museum.
Yeah.
Also downtown,
Yes.
which was very interesting. So that was a pleasant surprise. But yes, is it Main Street? Is the main strip?
Lower Broadway.
Lower Broadway. That's what it was. Yeah, that was a circus. That was a circus there. So what do you? Let's let the audience in on what is your company for one, and what do you guys do?
Okay. So my company is Transforming Business Solutions. And essentially, I'm a fractional C-suite executive. And what we do is we go help companies grow their revenue and profit, which is what everybody wants to do.
And so there's so many ways that we can increase revenue, right? Like it's funny because I work with a lot of fractionals executives through our marketing firm, and we're technically a fractional CMO firm ourselves. And I hear that from an you're a fractional COO predominantly, correct? Or no? Is there a particular C-suite?
I go across most of the C's.
Okay. Is there one that you like the most?
It's a combination between a CRO and COO.
Okay.
And
awesome.
And I think the main reason is when you're taking a look at every company out there, and especially with M&A companies, investors, their goal is to buy a company, grow it as fast as they can, and sell it off. That's their goal. And everybody that is in the private sector, especially, they probably, even if they haven't thought about it, is their goal is to grow it and sell it. And they may not be ready to do that yet. They may not have thought about it. But I learned a long time ago in my career that if you really want to grow your business to any type of scale, you have to assess the whole company. Because there's people that do go out and they try and fix one piece of it, and that will help. But to get you where you want to be and to get your scale, you have to have the whole organization moving in that direction with all the processes, tools, plans, people. And it takes more than one person to do it throughout the career of the company.
I see that. So when we talk about scaling our business obviously in a CRO, we're talking revenue, right? So that's a kind of a gimme, right? But when I look in like my LinkedIn profiles of people connecting with me, and it says, I'm a fractional COO. I help businesses maximize or grow and scale to maximum profitability, right? On the growth and scale, profitability, I totally get on operations. Like if you have a sloppy operations and your efficiencies are low and all that other stuff, you're eating, just eroding your profits. I totally get that, right? But when we talk about growth, if you were just to look at the operational side and you were talking to somebody saying, I'm going to grow your company through the operations, what does that mean?
So, well, it depends on which type of company you're looking at, but let's take a look at a manufacturer, for example.
Okay, great.
And I love manufacturers because they've got a lot of moving pieces there. So, and I can give you a real life example. of one company that I went to. It was taking them 7 years to develop a product. It wasn't really meeting the market needs, and the market share was down.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to accelerate all that. And so, to go in there, they wanted to improve their product development process. Well, that's one piece of it. So when
Mm,
you take a look at developing a new product, you have to take a look at everything. So
mm,
it's going to affect your product development. It's going to affect your engineering. It's going to affect the product management teams. It's going to affect the financial teams. It's going to affect IT and software, the factory, customer service, product support, tech support, and it's going to affect the sales organization and the service organization if they have one. So
mm,
when you take a look at, you want to grow your that business and have a product out there. Okay, the product is a piece, but to get there, you have to have all those other moving pieces. If you don't, you can have the best product in the world, but that doesn't mean that you're going to sell it. And I've seen that. I've
mm,
seen where people have the best product, and I've seen where they could not get the market share they wanted. I've seen somebody that's had one of the worst products, but they had all the other pieces and they had number one market share. And
so,
so that's why you have to take a look at that entire company, because
mhm,
otherwise what will happen is you'll fix one piece. You'll fix the product development, but then without the engineering side of it, you still can't get it out in 18 months or a year.
mm,
So you have to put all those processes in. Well, then also, if you're doing voice of customer for that product, which you should,
mm,
you need to have a representative from every different department, because when you're out talking to customers, and you talk to good customers, but you also want to talk to customers that are using your competitor, and you want
mhm,
to find out what they like about it, what they don't like about it, and sometimes it may not even be related to the product. It might be about the service they get, the support
mhm,
they get. But
mhm,
when you'll really learn all of that is when you have a team of people that are diverse, because a finance person is going to ask different questions than you would or than I would, and
mhm,
an engineer is going to ask different questions. Somebody that's setting up the factory is going to be asking different questions, um,
mhm.
and so that's how you really find out everything about what that customer is doing, and you can put all those pieces in place to have a successful product, a successful launch.
Mm. So what I'm hearing though is like the operations side really is a facilitator of growth. Like you can, like you were saying, like you can have the best product, but if you can't deliver it, it's this, all the sales in the world is not going to help you, right? And if you have an okay product, but your operations are awesome and your sales are feeding that, then you can get all the market share. But it's a facilitator of growth, because without the sales and marketing, you don't have anything to sell, right? Or you don't have anything to make. You don't have reason to make product in the production. And I think that happens the same way in services. Like a lot of people will say, "Well, I've got the service, and I can do this for people." And it's like, okay, that's great. So you know how to do that. But then on the other side, as a fractional CM, I'm looking at it going, yeah, but is that what people need? Right? Do you have a market fit for that service?
Right.
And I think a lot of people oversee that, and I'm hearing this balance between having what people need, right? Whether it's the best or not, it
Correct.
doesn't matter, because you can get market share either way as long as your operations are able to deliver it in a way that people are at least happy with it, and then having that sales meet the demand the operations can do, and not overselling it. Because I mean, what do you say to the people who, they come to you and they're like, yeah, our operations are holding our sales back? Do you tell them, like, can you get the sales to lay off, or how do you balance that kind of situation?
Well, and that's where, again, it goes back to having a plan and processes and tools in place where the whole company is moving in that direction.
Mm,
I personally have worked for publicly traded companies, and we outsold what the factories could build. So
mm,
what happens is when you do that and your lead times go from 6 weeks to 6 months, within 24 hours, your competitors find that out. And then they take that business away. And
right.
so if you're publicly traded, Wall Street is not happy when you're missing your numbers because you can't build it. I've also seen that same company where we had so much manufacturing capacity, we couldn't keep the factory full, which then you're worried about laying off people and everything else. So then you have to drop price to bring people
Mm,
volume. Again, that's not a good thing. And when you're a
mm-mm,
private business, it's that's extremely important because you're trying to get everything going in one direction. And again, you may not have the skill sets to know, okay, how do I get there? Because organization's
mm,
got certain strengths and weaknesses. That's like I know what mine are, and
mhm.
there's times where somebody thinks they need me, and it's like you don't need me. Could I do that? Yes, but I know people that can do it a lot better.
Ooh, a lot better. I like that. Like, I think that there's something to be said about that is in our own businesses. I always tell people, like, yeah, I could do that, but we're not the best at it. So that's why we don't offer it. They're like, well, why not? It's like, if there's somebody better at doing it, why wouldn't I just give that business to them and let them give you the best, right? So that I can focus on what I'm the best at.
Right.
I think it's a really good takeaway for our listeners to hear that it's okay to be able to do all the things, but choose to only offer the things you do best. Because being able to do all the other things just lends to the knowledge that makes you the best at what you really are passionate about, right? Or just really good at. Sometimes we're not passionate, we're just naturally good at something, right? But the outcome that you give people is what your passion is then fed by, right? So I think that's really good takeaway for everybody to get with that. So, what size companies are you usually working with, and is it usually in the manufacturing, or do you teeter between manufacturing and services?
It's I'm completely agnostic right now.
Uh huh.
It's one where I can go as large as I want because the largest I've done when I was working for publicly traded was a $1 billion division.
Mm-hmm.
But typically, it's anywhere from about 500,000 up to 80 million.
Mm-hmm.
Seems
That's a big sweep.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
it seems like when you go higher than that, then a lot of times they just want to hire you permanently, and
Right.
I'm not looking for another full time job. So,
So, what got you into the fractional space in the first place? That's a great segue into that question.
um, it's one where my career, when I go back and think about it, I was fractional my entire career.
Mm,
Even though I worked for publicly traded and uh, private companies, my my title may not have changed, but my assignment changed. And
mm,
so every assignment I had was anywhere from 1 to 2 years. That whatever I went in, they wanted me to do. The president would want me to go in and do something. I would do it as soon as everything was running smoothly. Then he'd ask me to go somewhere else, or I'd get a call from another president of a company. And that's been my entire career. And what I found is I really love going in and helping the private sector, especially because it's real people's money,
mm-hmm,
and that's what my passion is. And so
mm,
I love doing it. And when 2019 came around, I decided, I've been doing the exact same thing, and I just keep changing companies every year or every
mm-hmm,
2 years. And so I thought, well, why not do what I do, but do it on a part-time basis? Go help companies that normally couldn't afford my expertise,
mm-hmm.
and help them out. Just keep doing what I've been doing.
Mm, I love that. And so it was a pretty easy transition because you had such a great reputation. So some would call you a corporate refugee in the fractional worlds. So where it's like going from that career of corporate world and then now becoming the contractor. It's funny. I was in the Air Force for 10 years, and that was like the track for many. I was a flyer, and the track was to retire, and or if you got out early, you're going to be a contractor at one of the training facilities or the Sims or something like that, or go work for Boeing, dot, dot, dot. Right. And I'm so glad I didn't, because the jet that I was on, I just got decommissioned last year. So I'd be out of a job if I'd done that. And I have friends who did that. They're like, they retired, and then they're like, and they kind of like had that same mindset. I'm like, well, I'll just flip it over to the other side and be a contractor. Right.
Mhm.
And So when we're making that transition like that, what do you feel was like your biggest struggle from going from a full-time employee to a now basically contractor, a gun for hire?
Um, Networking.
Mm,
And the reason I say it was a struggle is because it takes time. And
gotcha.
so,
And you didn't have to do that before.
uh, no, it's one where I would go in and do what I could, and then if there was times we'd bring in somebody else to do pieces that I didn't want to do, or to accelerate
Hmm.
how fast it would take to get the project done. But
Hmm.
um, but it's one where when I take a look at the networking aspect of it, with my current company, my goal is to never tell somebody I don't know somebody that can help them.
Mm,
So to do that, and plus when you are a small company, you only have so much capacity.
right.
So for me to, again, not tell anybody that I can't ever help them, then you have to sit there and really grow that network. I try and spend 20% of my time, and I still do today, to meet other fractional executives, every
Hmm.
discipline, including what I do. And that's part of what I spend my time doing. Then I also spend time meeting with pretty much anybody that's got a product or service.
Mm,
And the reason is because you never know, when you're with a client, what they're going to need until after you go in and assess it. And again, if
mm,
assessing a company, my process is I assess its current state. I find out where they want to be 5 years from now, and where do they want to be when they exit. And
mm,
and that's once I've done that assessment, then I put a plan to get together. And when I put the plan together, that's when also sometimes they're bringing in other people at that point, but they know they have a plan, they have the processes and tools to measure that plan, and they
hmm.
know who they're going to have to bring in and when. And so I want to be able to refer people in.
Hmm.
And the other thing is, with a lot of the private businesses, just simple things like everybody needs healthcare insurance.
Mm,
And
hmm.
And I know several companies that's what they do, is they really target private businesses to get them better rates on healthcare. Well,
Right.
you would think, okay, I've got a good friend that works for one as a VP, and that's great, but they're only competitive in certain size companies. So then you have,
Mm,
so then you have to find, you know, fill all the gaps in. So when you start filling all the gaps in, it can take a
hmm.
long time to build your network, and especially when you get into the fractional world, because
Mm,
most fractionals gravitate to what they know they're good at and they're passionate about. And so,
sure.
perfect example, with me, I was vice president of sales and marketing almost my entire career. I
Gotcha.
love the stuff that nobody sees in marketing. So when you're doing all the data analysis, stuff like that, that's what I love.
Yeah. Right.
The stuff that you see, um, I don't like, I don't enjoy. And so
Creative.
I find people that's what they're passionate about. That's what they do. And there's so many different dynamics, both in the fractional world and in the products and services, because everybody's got something different that they do. Um,
Hmm.
it's one where there's some that just want to do in certain industries. Some people
Mm,
only deal in certain geographic areas, and
mm,
so you just keep plugging on all those pieces you can, and then as you grow that network, then you find out, okay, how can I introduce some people I know to some of these people I'm meeting, or some of these companies I'm meeting, and
hmm.
then that's your lead generation at that point.
Hmm.
But it takes time to build that network.
So, what do you think? I mean, so you've been through it now and recently here. What do you think the number one secret to building a strong network is?
One is, I think you really need to understand where you're going. Just like any other company, it's like, okay, where do I want to be 5 years from now? And then, in order for me to grow that, who are the people I need to meet? And then that's who you target. And you want to, and it's amazing, some of the people I've met. And I've always said, you can't tell what anybody does from a job description. And you can't tell what a company really does from their LinkedIn profile or their website or a piece of literature. You have to talk and develop a relationship with people. And the more that you get to know somebody, the more you understand, okay, every dynamic about the company, about the person, and who is the best person to refer to. Um, and and that's the only way you can really grow that network is by understanding all those. I mean, you and I could have a 30-minute Zoom call, and I could walk away and say, okay, I know everything about you, and I don't know anything about you or your company. And probably after the sixth or seventh, I might really start to really understand everything you do. But you're not going to get that out of a 30-minute call.